Hey, welcome to AI and its practical use in business. I'm Bas, and today I'm joined again by Koen, my business partner. And today we're tackling one of the most critical aspects of a successful AI implementation, which is proper planning. And we'll walk you through our project canvas that we developed in-house, 7Lab, and it helps you to navigate, a complex journey from AI concept to actual execution in preparation of running a proof of concept or during the proof of concept phase if you do an AI implementation. And this canvas you can use to address some of the unique challenges that you might face during an AI project, which goes from data requirements, getting access to data, to seeing which skills you want to automate with AI, and make a couple of strategic decisions along the way. So whether you still have to start your project or you're currently working on an AI project, it's possible for both kind of situations to use this canvas, and it provides a structured way to go about your project. We'll try to break down every component in the canvas and then share a concrete example in the end so you can see how to fill it in for yourself. So yeah, let's dive into it and have a good discussion about it. But maybe before we start off, Koen is the brain behind this thing. And maybe we'll start quickly to summarize why we came up with this and how it's helping our clients, for example.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it has a use case for a situation where you are planning to start with a new concept. Then it really helps in the structuring and ideation phase, but it also helps when you're already running a project to have a overview of the most important topics. And based on the projects we did in the past, I was still missing a one pager, which I can share with, for example, a decision maker that explains what the project is aiming for, what the expected revenues are, the expected costs, etc. And then that this decision maker, based on this one pager, can determine whether to go on or not. So that's where the idea started.
Yeah, and I think it really helps for me personally if you share it to a large group of stakeholders that are not, they don't have to test the actual application, but they can just look at this page and then see what the whole project entails without being in the project, so to say. All right, then maybe we should just pull up the canvas and then go, about all the different quadrants in there and then explain what the reasoning behind these canvases is or what you would fill in there.
Yes, let me share my screen. Maybe first go through all the quadrants and then zoom in on each of them.
Yeah, sure.
So this is the AI project canvas. Like you can see, it has quite some quadrants which you can fill in. And first, the first quadrant is data. So what data is needed for the project? And we'll go more into detail later on. It's also about the skills, and not necessarily the skills you want to automate, but also the skills you need in the project for running the project and implementing the solution. We're talking about output. So, what is the expected output, and how can we measure this output? So, which key metrics are we optimizing for? There's a quadrant about the value proposition. So, what's the value we're creating? There's a quadrant about governance and ethics, which is also really relevant for AI, of course. We're talking about integration. So, how are we going to integrate this project technically, but also organization wise? How are we going to integrate it? Another quadrant is the stakeholders. Like you said, Bas, we need to get these stakeholders in our line of sight to make sure that we keep them updated and maybe even share this canvas to them. We have the users, of course, the users of the application itself. We have the costs and the revenues. and we have a timeline. And this timeline is more, in a sense, like it's some sort of roadmap where you can plot out different steps in the project, maybe version 2, version 3, etc. And this combination of quadrants gives you an overview of a project and where it's heading.
Right. And what about the value proposition? That's just one or two sentences, what the project entails and
Yeah,
what value it brings. Is that how extensive does it need to be in this canvas?
I think the value proposition should be a 2-sentence elevator pitch when you're pitching this concept to another colleague, for example.
Right.
So what is it and what value does it bring?
Right. Okay. Yeah, then maybe to make it a little bit more concrete, we should do an example case.
Yeah.
Where we try to fill this in ourselves, and hopefully we'll do it right with our own tool. So maybe I can sketch a case that we've done recently and that we already talked about in our last video, where we have a database with real estate contracts for the Dutch immigration services, and they want to ask questions about these contracts. And the data, yeah. Shall we start with the first quadrant? What data do we need to start this project, or shall I give an overview first? Yeah, you know the project, of course.
I think it helps to give an overview first.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So the challenge here is we have a lot of contracts on our network disk that is shared within the organization, and these contracts, these are thousands of contracts in this case, with for specific locations where we need to do some maintenance or where we need to comply with certain regulations. And lots of people have questions about these contracts. And these questions are really specific. Someone needs to do some maintenance on a building. Do we need to work with 5-watt LEDs or 10-watt LEDs? And currently this is figured out by contract managers working at this organization, and they need to find an answer to these questions. And then they go into the network drive and look for these very specific answers and have to read again and again all these contracts that we have with certain suppliers or for locations. And yeah, we decided that this is a nice use case for AI because we can put all those documents in a certain kind of database, which is called a vector database or a knowledge base that we can then ask questions to with by using AI or an AI agent. So that's the use case and the project. And now we can dive into it a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
So in regards to data, I think it's mainly the contracts on the network disk we need for this, right?
Yeah. And what kind of documents are we talking about?
Yeah, so these can be maintenance contracts, can be, yeah.
Because
What kind of contracts?
do we have different types of contracts, for example, like you said, maintenance?
Yeah, rental, maybe rental contracts. Everything you would need to run a specific location. What kind of use, maybe how the real estate can be used or should be used, or regulatory documents that apply specific for these locations.
Yeah, so we get different types of contracts. What other data is relevant for making sure this application runs well? Do we need example questions with good answers, for example?
Yeah, could be. So we have a list of common questions and answers, but we also have a list of how do you say that? The specific terminology they use,
Yeah,
which the AI model doesn't necessarily know about.
yeah,
So I think they previously had in their documents, they refer to a real estate manager, which is now being called a little bit differently, for instance. And this is, of course, something the AI model needs to know, because otherwise it's going to use the old kind of names in communication.
Yeah. And would you, for example, say that the prompt of the agent is also part of the data we need?
We use those previous two topics in the prompt.
Yeah, but the prompt itself, the prompt stating, "Hey, you are a AI facility contract agent. Your goal is to answer questions about etc. etc."
Yeah, I wouldn't call that the prompt, but maybe we need the process to answer questions. Or documentation about the process, how these contract managers are doing their work.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe another interesting data source would be the time spent on answering questions right now.
Sure. Yeah.
It linked to the key metric for optimizing the output.
And we needed indeed like 10 good examples of including the specific process used to get to an answer. So we have a question, an example answer.
Yeah.
And for this project, we also needed a list of documents used. So we knew exactly what we should focus on before starting the project.
Yeah.
Because we had all these good examples, we could really quickly fine-tune the prompt we were making eventually.
Yeah. And for example, the tone of voice used by the agent, was that relevant for this case?
Yeah. 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 And we needed brand information. So colors, logo, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And more in general, the amount of questions that are asked every month. So how big is this question issue?
Yeah, we didn't need that during this specific project.
Okay.
Might be relevant to get to the business case then.
Yeah, because then you could say, okay, time spent on answering a question is 5 minutes. We have 500 questions a month, and with this new solution, we can shorten the answering to 1 minute. So we save 2,000 minutes a month, for example. Yeah, but that's for now.
But that's data we need specifically for the canvas now, right? And not for the project necessarily.
Yeah, well, but it is linked to the revenue and also to the output. So I think the key metric probably is the time spent on answering a question.
Yeah, but just to go back to the data kind of quadrant,
Yeah.
it's about what data do I need really for the project to work, but also to for the soft side of things. So not only to get the application running, but also to implement it and get a good view on the business case.
Yeah, and make this canvas work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, then maybe we should go to the next one.
Let me just yeah, the skills. So what skills are required for this project?
Yeah, we need the contract managers. Is it skills or roles?
Well, it depends on how you explain what a contract manager does.
Lots of stuff.
What kind of skills does a contract manager have which is relevant for this project?
Answering questions.
Okay.
And read legal documents.
So they do the fact checking. They can check whether our AI agent is answering the questions right or wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, we needed IT. So we had an IT architect during the POC phase already.
Yeah.
Included in the project. Yeah. Just to keep an eye on how after the POC phase we need to structure things to land this whole solution in their ecosystem.
Yeah. Okay. So do we need to educate the project team on how this solution works so they understand how this vector database works and how they can expect the agent to answer. From my experience in other projects, it sometimes helps people to understand how this type of solution works on a more general level. To know, for example, that just putting in more data is not always the answer for improving the quality of the output.
Yeah, and we have a user side of things, so that are the eventual users of the application. They require some training of some sorts.
Yeah.
And we have the management layer of the application, which includes putting new knowledge into the tool. And maybe part of it is also how to use the tool.
Yeah.
I think this is pretty much it.
Okay, and when we talk about the key metrics for the output, so how can we measure if it's performing well or not?
Yeah, we save time on answering questions about contracts. So probably we want to hit a certain percentage of answered by AI.
So it's the time spent on answering questions, but also I think the accuracy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the quality X percentage.
And also time for users to get an answer.
Yeah. So it's how do you call it? The time between
Response times is the optimization metric.
response times. Okay, nice. I think those are three nice key metrics.
We have a small mistake in response.
Let's just
Don't know yet if we're going to save this one. Okay.
How would you describe this project like a value proposition in 2 sentences? So I just stepped in the elevator with you, and you need to do this pitch to me.
Yeah, we built an AI assistant that can answer any question you might have about the contracts for the real estate department at Koen 500% faster.
Okay, 500%. That's quite a. But then you need to know how fast it is now. So that's important in the data side.
Yeah. So what the current response time is, we need to know that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay. Governance and ethics.
Yeah. What kind of governance issues do we have?
Yeah. So currently, all the contracts are managed by contract managers, but there might be some privacy sensitive information in, so we need to consider that when this tool is also given to users or rolled out. We really need to consider what data we return and who do we give access to which contract.
Yeah.
Which is another point, I think.
Yeah, because is there some sort of role-based access to these contracts?
Yeah, probably. I don't know for this project specifically yet. We're going to do that in production, but it's definitely a topic we need to discuss. And probably we want to follow the same kind of rules they have on their network drive.
Yeah, maybe to zoom in on that, can you maybe explain how, because there's an access system already in place telling who has access to which contracts right now? How could we link this to this AI agent?
I don't know yet. So probably we run an export somewhere and then replicate that same thing on our data access layer.
Yeah, but it's linked to the company user account, right?
Yeah, so probably in the eventual solution, we're going to implement this tool inside the tools they already use.
Yeah.
And then they might be logged in those tools. And hopefully we can we can limit the rights that way.
Yeah.
We just have to know who they are before they are getting any answers.
And another topic is the AI Act from the European Union.
Yeah.
Which layer of risk would you categorize this project?
Yeah, there might be some privacy concerns with those contracts. But it's mainly between the organization and a specific company. So I wouldn't call that high risk or medium risk. I think it's a low risk use case, as they specify it in the.
So that's level 2, right?
Yeah, or even level 1.
Yeah, but I think if you're using some sort of chat interface where you interact with the model, then you need to level 2 in the AI UX.
Yeah,
Nice.
maybe it's good to quickly mention where you can find that information. Just if you Google AI Act, it's
Yeah,
possible to find it. But
you need to search for the picture of the pyramid with all the layers, with the 4 levels of risk determined by the EU.
yeah, I think the website is called digitalstrategy.ec.europa.eu. There you have the minimal, limited, high risk, and unacceptable risk. 4 levels indeed. And the first level is the limited risk.
Yeah.
So, and I think we covered that risk more or less because people are basing their actions on the output that the AI will give them.
Yeah.
But we're also including all the source documentation where it comes from. So we try to mitigate these risks of people interpreting the answers wrong or AI models hallucinating, and then people basing their actions on wrong answers. We try to mitigate those risks. So I think we comply in that sense.
Yeah.
Because you need at level 1, you already need to mitigate certain risks.
And in terms of ethics, are there any ethical concerns in this project?
I don't think so. Not for this department of the organization, at least.
No. Well, let's go to integration then. So the question is, how will the project be integrated into the company?
Probably will use the Teams environment they already have internally communicating with each other, or the intranet environment.
Sorry?
Still, the intranet,
Yeah.
or yeah, that's intranet, right? The internal communication tools, at least.
Yeah.
And this is more about the practical integration of it, or which systems we need to integrate.
It's integration in a general sense. So it's the integration with systems, but could also be the implementation strategy, like training, for example, training all the contract managers to use this tool, etc.
Yeah. Okay. So it's also the network drive. Might be SharePoint based, still something to investigate.
Yeah. Okay. And when we talk about the stakeholders, what are the key stakeholders for this project?
Yeah. So IT,
Yeah.
but that's not the most important one. It's mostly the contract managers themselves.
Yeah. Because they are the users.
No, they're not the users, but they save a lot of time answering all these arbitrary questions.
But they are the users then, right?
Right now in the POC phase, but eventually other people that might have questions about these contracts are going to get answers.
So the contract manager is stepping out of the equation
Loop.
at one point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So all the maintenance people might have questions about these contracts, or of course, management at the real estate department is a stakeholder. Yeah, that's it, I think.
Okay. Well, you spoiled this one already. So in the beginning, the contract managers are the users.
Yeah, during the POC phase.
And the people with the questions those are also people outside of this organization, right?
Could be something to be discussed.
Yeah.
Still, but might be. But probably we will keep using it with the contract managers until we're confident enough.
Yeah.
The questions are 99% accurate, and then we'll move on to other people asking questions because they have some kind of a service desk where they get all these incoming questions, and they serve a lot of different internal users and external users.
Yeah. Okay, nice. And do we have other end users? Are there other use cases?
No.
Then let's go to the cost side. What kind of costs do we have?
Yeah, so they did the proof of concept,
Yeah.
which is 5K.
Yeah.
And then they got the membership, which is 5.5. But this is spread alongside all the coming AI projects, and we're doing multiple at once for these customers.
Costs related to the AI model itself, for example?
Yeah, I think that will be very minimal in this case. So let's say 100 euros a month. That's already a lot, but just to be on the safe side. Yeah, it's not really, it's really hard to say how much revenue it will deliver, but maybe cost savings. So I expect this, in the end, will save maybe 90% of the time from the contract manager's service task. They are now busy for a large part of their work answering questions about contracts, while it should be more about making new contracts or verifying the current contracts are right. So much more valuable tasks in that sense.
Yeah.
So how much exactly that will be? And I guess with this canvas, it's also a matter of not being that exact about it, right? It's an estimate for the future because the project usually doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
We cannot really be sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's something you set up in the beginning or before you start a project, and then during the project you can adjust it. And that's why these key metrics for optimizing the output are important, because you do want to measure these. So then after using it for a while, you can fill in the revenue side better. Is there any other revenue generated? So like you said, the response time is shortened as well. Does that mean that we could, for example, say that maintenance is done quicker because the maintenance people don't have to wait for a week for an answer, for example? They get the answer right away.
Yeah, right now they are dependent on ad hoc processes. So they try to call these contract managers and then get the answer straight away.
Yeah.
But in worst case scenario, they might have to return to the location if they didn't get an answer fast enough. So, and I think that also implies a higher cost than just being there one time and knowing instantly if something is within the contract or done according to.
Nice.
But this is a huge assumption, of course. I'm doing this without the client.
Yeah. 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 But that's just to understand how this canvas works, which is fine. Nice. And the timeline. So what's the timeline for this project? Maybe a bit the POC phase and beyond the POC phase.
Yeah, so we started the POC phase 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I'm talking about the actual runtime of the project. So we didn't spend 3 weeks on the proof of concept sprint, but it took 3 weeks in total to.
Oh, no, sorry. We started 3 weeks ago and it took a week to finish the POC. Then, yeah, in 2 weeks, or no, we already started the membership kind of phase.
Yeah.
Right after the POC.
Yeah, but if we take the perspective of the project itself.
In milestone wise.
Yeah, what kind of steps do we need to do, for example, to take this POC to the next level and implement it in the organization?
Yeah, so it's probably, we are now in a fine-tuning phase. So right after the POC, we enter the fine-tuning phase in terms of how we give instructions to the model. Right after that, we'll create an integration with the system where they have their contracts. I think it's SharePoint or the network drive we already talked.
Yeah.
And after that, we'll implement the agent somewhere within an existing communication channel they already have. And then, yeah, I guess we'll add more tools and features. We end up in that phase, which can be indefinite. And further fine tuning.
Okay, nice. And when you look at this timeline, this last milestone you added, so the extra tools and more fine-tuning, where in the future do you think we can start with this step, looking for this specific project?
Yeah, I think in 2 months.
2 months already.
Yeah, because we're trying to finish the MVP in 2 months. And for the MVP, we need to integrate the rollout, possibly roll out to the entire organization.
Yeah.
So we need to have that integration with the existing channels ready.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll do extra things. And I think that's the idea.
Nice. Well, I think by filling in this canvas, we have quite a good overview of the project. And like we said in the beginning, if we hand this canvas to a decision maker from the management, for example, it really helps them to understand what kind of project we're talking about, what people we need, what skills. And when you're doing this project, for example, one of the things you can add is that you explain how much capacity of the organization you need in times of people, which is always relevant. So this is just a starting point for starting a new project, and during running this project, you can update every That's nice. Cool.
All right. Then maybe you can save this one. Then because it's a new canvas. I think we already explained that. We released it last week.
Yeah.
And I didn't make this with this client, but I want to review it with my client and then see if they have any extra comments. So I would be very curious.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so yeah, we didn't host this canvas anywhere yet. So right now you can just email us at hello@sevenlab.dev, and then we'll email it back to you. But once we host it somewhere, we'll also put a link in the YouTube video, so you can download it directly and start filling it in for your own projects. Or one of our consultants will send it to you if you're a prospective client. I think that was it for today, right, Koen?
Yes, I think it was a nice wrap up. Cool.
Yeah, and thanks. See you next time.
See you next time.
Okay, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Goodbye.
Ciao.